What is the source of happiness? When do we feel happy? This is something I want you people to read in Truth Eternal and come back and tell me that. That's the homework. When do we feel happy? Secondly, we keep talking about spirituality enriching life. How does it enrich life? Normally, we are working from the level of the body and the mind. Now, as we progress spiritually, the spiritual aspect of our existence manifests. We spoke about it. Now, that spiritual aspect of the existence is the third aspect of existence that is going to influence your life. So, in other words, rather than two things influencing your life, which is the body and the mind, now the body, mind, and the spirit together influences the life, your experience of life. Okay. Now, as you further progress, you go towards reality. Now, four things influence your life. So, the body, the mind, and the spirit, spiritual existence, and the reality. Then, as you go even further, once you become fully established with reality, the real bliss now starts influencing your life. So, five things influence your life, the experience of life. Now, lastly, that real bliss percolates down to such an extent across all these realms that you are not even aware that you are established in real bliss. So, in other words, you become unaware of the real bliss. Now, that life where you are established in the state of real bliss, but you are unaware, is the highest state of happiness or the highest state of richness that you can get in life. Now, this richness percolates to every aspect of every cell, every particle of your being. Okay. So, this is the reason why we say spirituality or spiritual journey enriches your life. Initially, only two things are there, which is the body and the mind. And utilizing the body and the mind, you interact with the world. Now, once you start the spiritual journey, the spiritual aspect of the existence now helps you to experience the world, but in a much more richer way because you have three things to experience. It's almost like from a 2D movie, you've gone to 3D movie. So, don't you think a 3D movie is far more richer experience than a 2D movie? Then, when you go into the reality, you have a 4D movie now. Then, when you establish in real bliss, you have a 5D movie. When the real bliss becomes so percolated down to every aspect of our existence, at all levels, at every particle level, then you say that you are established in the 6D level of reality and richness. Okay. Now, again, remember, you can be rich in one realm, but poor in all other realms. So, physically, you might be the healthiest person, you might be the fittest person. So, you are rich in your physical vigor and physical build, but you might be weak. You might be physically looking very weak, but at the mental level, you might be very strong. You're very rich mentally, highly knowledgeable, highly wisdomful, all these things. So, what I'm trying to say is, for example, third thing, you are in a spiritual realm of existence. When that enriches life, you might have experience of lot of spiritual conditions. So, that's the richness that you bring it to the table. At the fourth level and the fifth level and the sixth level, most of these things are automatic. So when we touch the reality, the experience will be the same for everyone. Our experience of the real bliss will be the same, although it might manifest differently. Although the extent of manifestation of the difference will be minimal. The difference in manifestation is because of the variety of the samskaras that we carry. But by the time we become established in real bliss, when bulk of the samskaras are gone, then how will the real bliss be experienced by anyone? It will be almost the same, except that there is some nominal difference. Can you see that? And lastly, when the entire particles becomes divinized, you are almost like identical. When we become merged in that real bliss and lose awareness, at that stage, the magic happens that the everything in your house, every object in your house, every insect in your house is divinized. So anybody, even if they just come to your house and have contact with a mosquito in your house, they will get liberation. So Chariji used to say to one of the Abhyasi, I think Ishwar Sahai or Kannadji, I can't remember, that even an insect in your house can give rise to liberation to others. Now you might wonder, how can insect give rise to liberation? Liberation is brought about because of the insect's ability to automatically transmit. The whole house is full of transmission in such a way that everything in the house absorbs the transmission and radiates the transmission. So it becomes automatic. Can you see? Such a wonderful thing. Now, can he not be called the richest person in the world who can do this? Just imagine the kind of richness that they might have. That just at the blink of the eyes, but the turn of the head, they can actually liberate somebody. Just with one sankalpa, they can liberate somebody. Babuji was established in that realm, in that level. And many of his contemporaries, he had made sure that they were also established at that realm. Okay. Now, you know why we say spirituality enriches life. You should not have any doubt why it should enrich life. Now, this thing, when it percolates down, all other things manifest. So, when the richness of the divinity percolates down to the system, we also start becoming rich materially also. Babuji starts the building the ashram of Shahjahanpur in the name of Lalaji. And he doesn't have money. And Lalaji says, don't worry about money, money will come in search of you. Then he starts the work and then money starts coming in from various sources. Then the entire building will be finished. Then Babuji says, this entire building ashram is built by Lalaji only. I'm just a medium. He just kept saying that the money will come, money will come. So at every time I required the money came somehow. Now you can look at it from two ways. You can actually say that because of your wish to build the ashram, the money is coming in from nature itself. Or your sankalpa itself is manifesting, and whatever is necessary for the manifestation of the sankalpa, nature is providing. Can you see that? So now, if a person can manifest their sankalpa at will, is there any higher richness than that? That's something for you to ponder about. What is that highest richness? Your ability to manifest the sankalpa at will, and the entire nation cooperating with you for that. He is the richest person. Much better than all our billionaires put together. Right? Because this richness, the rich person can actually manifest that across all realms. Not only in one realm, in the realm of money. This richness is making you rich across all realms of your existence. Who can be a person who can be equivalent to that person? No amount of richness in the world stands in front of it. It is for this reason that the kings used to leave their throne and go in search of this reality. Now you can understand why the kings used to leave their throne and go to the forest in search of this truth. So the emperorship of the kingdom was nothing in front of being an emperor in this kingdom, in the divine kingdom. And that is what we are all striving to do, and that is what you are actually journeying towards. So you should feel, just by thinking about it, you should feel happy with it. Right? ಭರತ್ ಭರತಕ್ಕೆ ಖುಷಿ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಇನ್ನು. ಭರತ್ ಇನ್ನು ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ, ಯಾವ್ದಪ್ಪ ಇದು ಶ್ರೀಮಂತಿಗೆ ಅಂತ. ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ರಿಚ್ನೆಸ್ ದಟ್ ಹಿ ಇಸ್ ಟಾಕಿಂಗ್ ಅಬೌಟ್? ಐ ನೆವರ್ ಥಾಟ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಅಂತ ಅಲ್ವಾ? Now, see, that is how you have to make spirituality so interesting that it is something that adds value to every aspect of our life. Without this aspect of spirituality, we are so poor. We might be rich at a material level, but that richness does not percolate down to any other level. But if we are rich at the spiritual level, it percolates down to every other level. Can you see that? So this is one point. And Gopal Krishna, you missed the homework. So I'll give you a few days because you are away. The homework is, what is the source of happiness? That's the question, and I'll give you the book to refer to. The book is Truth Eternal by Lalaji. What is the source of happiness? Okay. Now, shall we continue? These were the 2 points I thought I'll just share with you people in the morning. So is it 48 that we are looking? I think 47. Oh no. I think
47 with the real, the
47.
imagination.
with the imagination, you can create many things that are not real. In fact, you can only create things that are unreal. You may create wonderful illusions. You may create terrible hallucinations. They are all your own creations and they are all unreal. So, you remember the question I asked? If experiences is the basis of judging a person's journey in spirituality, our mentally ill patients have more experiences. Right? So that cannot be the criteria. Experiences under the condition of when the body and the mind is still and quiet. Those experiences are counted towards spiritual experience. When the mind is overactive and creating things out of its own accord, those experiences are not in the direction of spirituality. So, if you want to take experience as something that is indicative of your spiritual journey, it should be under the condition of the body and the mind being quiet and still. That's the criteria. Got it? Meditation does not create anything at all. Meditation reveals. What does it reveal? That which is real, that which is authentic, that which is true. So we say that meditation reveals peace, not votes. I told you, no, votes. Original, authentic, tangible, and substantial. That is what reality is. It is original, it is authentic, it is tangible, and it is substantial. That is what reality is, and meditation reveals that reality. Lies are created, untruth is created, reality can never be created. It is as it is. You see, meditation itself is bhakti. The word bhakti has become synonymous with worship in its various forms. To some, it is making offerings to God. For others, it may be singing devotional songs. These are outward expressions of love. But when such outward expressions are devoid of inner feeling, the worship becomes mechanical. Then it's only a ritual. All form and no essence. Now underline, what is a ritual? All form, no essence. Bhakti can have a form, but it also has an essence. That's the difference between bhakti and ritual. Bhakti is all form, no essence. Bhakti is all form plus essence. Ritual is all form but no essence. You go to many of these functions, no, where they are doing a lot of pujas, then you see how much bhakti they've got. They'll be just be uttering the mantras for the sake of livelihood, not because of anything else. Then it's only ritual, all form, no essence. It is like an empty husk or a lifeless body. Yet when that inner feeling, that attitude of bhakti is indeed present, should any outward expression be necessary? Which is why when you start experiencing divinity within, you actually stop going to temples frequently. Because when you experience the same thing within, why do you want to go in search of it outside? That is why meditation is a silent activity. It is worship, but an inner worship. We used to call it as Antarika Puja, inner worship. Antarika Puja. In deep meditation, worship is no longer an act, but an act of a state of being, an intrinsic quality of the heart. In deep meditation, underline this, worship is no longer activity. It is just a state of being, an intrinsic quality of the heart. It is only possible when the object of worship is internal. That is why we turn internally. We turn our attention internally in meditation. Daji fast. Of course, this does not mean that you worship yourself. He said with a laugh. That would only be vanity. Some would even call it as blasphemy. Rather, it means that you come into an everlasting or ever deepening connect with the divine presence inside your own heart. So you are not actually worshipping yourself, you are worshipping the divinity inside. I told you the story of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, no? That when he comes to 10th point, he goes into the room saying that he's going to worship Kali. And then when people look at him from the window, he's worshipping himself. The people who saw him do this think that this fellow has gone mad. So they rush to the owner of the temple. Uh, this fellow, the priest in your temple, has gone mad. He started worshipping himself. He's putting the nama to himself. He's pouring flowers onto himself. Then that owner knew about the special state of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. He says, no, 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 that's okay. He acts weird sometimes. Don't worry, I'll take care of him. Not to worry. So he pacifies him and sends him. This is a condition that you get when you come to the 10th point. At the 10th point, you start feeling that you are the master. You are the divine. You are the owner of the entire creation. You start feeling masterhood. At that time, you worship your own self. Okay. Now, they are not acts of random acts of foolishness or what do you say, madness. They're all grounded in spiritual journey. We'll also feel the same thing when we come touch the 10th point. We feel that we are like the master. It's a phase that you have to pass through. So you start feeling that you want to compete with the master. What will he say? I can also say that only. What is the big thing in that? This is the condition that you'll get in 10th point. So it's a wonderful state to pass in, but then what protects us from that condition is our surrender and the degree of insignificance that we develop at the 8th and the 9th point, and our alignment to the goal. These two things protects us from this particular condition, although we do feel this condition. So if you have surrendered to somebody, you have that lingering of surrenderness. If you have felt that degree of insignificance at the 9th point, you feel that you are such a small thing in front of this entire universe. And then you have the goal in front of you, which is that complete oneness in the Supreme Self. So the surrenderance, the lingering of the surrenderance and the insignificance says that this is not the condition that you need to permanently establish. Go forward. Then that Supreme Self, which is the goal that you have kept, that pulls you towards the goal. So these two things push you from behind, that pulls you towards the goal. In that way, you don't get stuck at the 10th point. Otherwise, you start enjoying the 10th point. Ah, so nice here. I can boss around everyone. That I am the master. So this is what happens. See how our alignment to the goal, just that alignment, single alignment to the goal, protects us from so many things. That is why you need to have very clear alignment to the goal. So if anybody starts meditation without a goal, you can see how much, what do you say, how how much kind of a maze that they'll get entrapped into. They'll get entrapped into such kind of a maze that they will not be able to extricate themselves. Such a intricate maze they'll get entrapped. That is what happens. Is that fine? Now, next point. The divine is everywhere, but in that case, it is also within you. So, why look externally? If divine is everywhere, it should be within you. The easiest place to look is within. Why go in search of it externally? When the divine is found within, we call it as the self with a capital S, the higher self. We find it when we plunge into the absolute depth of our consciousness. Now, underline this. We find that the big self, higher self, when we plunge into the absolute depth of our consciousness, when we reach the bottom of our consciousness. There you find that there is something upon which the consciousness also rests. You find that consciousness has a foundation. Then you go even deeper and find that the foundation has its own foundation. And that under this foundation, there's an infinite foundation. Now, this infinite foundation is the self, the underlying reality of all things, animate and inanimate. Yet, it has no existence of its own. It is beyond existence, non-existence. Gopal Krishna, you remember I keep saying this point? Soul, the self has existence. In other words, the individual self has existence. Even at the level of the soul, we have existence. And we will be there till the Mahapralaya. Our identity will be there till Mahapralaya. But the Supreme Self is beyond existence, non-existence. So yesterday there was this question in the perceptor group. We keep getting these confused between these three selves, the lower self, the higher self, and the Supreme Self. Please clarify. The lower self is the persona that you have taken in this life. The personality that you are in this life. That is the lower self. That is what you lose. You lose in order to establish yourself into the higher self, which is original existence. Your own original existence. You remember the Samadhi? You become in tune with the Adi. Sama with Adi. That is Samadhi. You remember that? So that is what we become at the higher self. But that's not the end of the journey. Then from that higher self, we move towards the supreme self, which is what is the self that Daji is now talking about, the self with the capital S, which is the foundation of everything, which is beyond existence, non-existence. So if you say, what is the condition or what is the state of the center, if somebody were to ask you, this is the answer. It is a state beyond existence, non-existence. Atma Sakshatkara or self-realization is a state where you establish in your own existence, original existence. But when we talk about realization of the Bhuma or the center or the source, we are going beyond existence or non-existence, a state beyond existence, non-existence. That is why people have confusion about God, whether he is there or not there. Some people believe that he is there, so they think of him as existing. Some people think that he is not there, so they think of him as non-existence. But ideally, or really speaking, God is beyond both. Does this make sense? The lower self, the higher self, and the supreme self. The lower self is the current persona that you have taken on in this life. Current personality of Bharat, current personality of Ganesha, current personality of Sudha and Gopal Krishna taken separately, we are having difficulty shedding oneness as personality only. Now, if I put two personalities together, it will be even more difficult. So that's why I'm qualifying Sudha and Gopal Krishna separately. No, that is the lower self. This persona that we have taken in this life. So if you say, I am Gopal Krishna so and so, I am Ganeshan so and so, all that so and so and this Ganeshan plus so and so is there, no? That is your persona, the lower self. Okay? Now, when you shed all these things, you are established in the state of I am. I am means I am existing. That's it. Not as anything else, but I am. I'm existing. That is the condition of the higher self. But when we go beyond that also, that even this I am is gone, but you are existing. You are existing, but you are not even aware that you are existing. That is the state of the center. Beyond existence, non-existence. And that is what Babuji calls as complete ignorance. Higher ignorance or complete ignorance. It's like a small baby, a 1 day old baby. It's just born. It is not even aware of its existence. It is not even aware what is existence. It is not even aware of the existence of the world, not even aware of the existence of the people, things, nothing. It is not even aware of its body also, how it is working, nothing. It is not even aware of the consciousness also. So what is a 1 day old baby aware of? Virtually nothing. But it is existing. That is the state of the divine, the center. Can you see how you can easily relate? So 7:2 now. So let us finish at least this page. And if there are any questions, we'll take after that. So it has no existence of its own. It is beyond existence and non-existence. You see, nevertheless, it is the root of all existence. It is its support, and then there is something beyond that too. But by realizing that foundation of universality in your own heart, you transcend all that is individual, all that is limited. Okay. So initially it is the individual, then it's the universal, then you go beyond both, beyond the idea of even the individual and the spiritual, the universal. However, the term self can be deeply misleading. There are many terms like this in spirituality. Self is one thing, soul is one thing, chitta is one thing. In different places, it is used in different meanings. The context of the meaning is different. So you need to be very, very clear. The term samadhi again is used in different meanings in different contexts. The problem with spirituality is that there are very few words that we have in our vocabulary to be able to clearly exhibit the state of what you say, put the experience into words. The vocabulary of words that we forgot is very limited compared to the experience we can have. So that being the case, it creates confusion. When we read or hear the word, it can conjure up a feeling of I-ness or individuality. Yet the yogic concept of the self implies something universal. It is a common self, a self that is both impersonal and deeply personal. It is the heart and soul of each and everything. This is the word, this is the context in which Krishna has used the word Atma. In the second yoga, what do you say? In the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna talks about Atma. Atma is Avinashi. Atma is eternal. It is in this context, in this meaning that Krishna is talking about. That it is completely something universal. It is also the common self or the self that is both impersonal and deeply personal. So there are two aspects to it, that's all. There are no two things, there are two aspects to it. It's like you have one sun, and then the best example given is you have one sun and you keep 15 buckets of water. The same sun gets reflected in all the 15 buckets. Now it doesn't mean to say there are 15 suns plus 1 16 sun. There is only one sun. but the reflected self is 15. Really, the object is only one, but its reflection can be multitude. Likewise, the self is one, but its reflections, its parts can be felt as multitude, infinite. The highest self, the supreme self is one. But all the souls or the higher self that I spoke about, they are all nothing but part of the higher supreme self only. But it is perceived as being separate from the supreme self. That is the problem. If the higher self is perceived as part of the supreme self, then your journey is finished. But we don't perceive it. Since we don't perceive it, we have to take the help of the body and the mind to get into that perceiving ability. So it is this original idea of separateness that the higher self felt from the supreme self that created the necessity for the lower self. Can you see? The supreme self was one. Then part of the supreme self started expressing its own authority, saying that I am separate from you. So the idea of separateness took over. So that part of the supreme self, where the idea of separateness took over, is the higher self. Okay. Now, in order to overcome this idea of separateness, the higher self had to devise some mechanism, and the supreme self also helped. And this mechanism is the creation of the lower self. The lower self, which consists of your body, mind, and your persona, which I just now explained. These three things are not without utility. They are there for your journey. For what journey? For getting the higher self to its original state of the supreme self. That is what the journey is. This is the big desire. You remember? The big desire is for the self to merge with the supreme self. Right? But then it cannot merge directly without having an apparatus, without some instrument. That necessitated the reason for the body and the mind and the persona to come into existence. So each of these things that we are carrying was necessary in the initial bit. But what happened was, initially when these three things were created, all that it had capability was to turn itself inwards and help the higher self merge with the supreme self. That was the reason it was created. But what happened? The body, mind, and the persona started directing the attention externally. So instead of fulfilling why it was created, which is the merger between the higher and the supreme self, it started creating its own lower self now. It started creating the persona. It started creating the samskaras, which is the persona. The sum total of your samskaras is your persona. Is it confusing or is it clear? Why was it necessary for us to take up a body or the mind at all in the first place? It was necessary because it was a means for the higher self to merge into the supreme self. That was the reason why it took the body and the mind. But then we forgot, like we forget in every life why we have come here. Every one of us in every life, we know why we are here at the time of birth. But after birth, we forget it. And you know why we cry at the time of birth? We cry because we have forgotten why we are here. We are lost. So that's why every child cries. And the doctor makes sure that you cry. But the doctor doesn't know that this crying is coming from a different realm altogether. The crying is because the soul forgot why is it here? And what is it supposed to do here? And that is when you actually start, when you meditate, you start going towards this cause. Why are you here? You start feeling more happy. Okay, something is there. Why am I here? I'm getting to know why am I here? What am I supposed to do? So you start feeling more happy. the crying comes down. Okay. If I say the crying comes down, no, Bharat will say, Sir, even after marriage, crying comes down anyway naturally. Why should we worry about it? But this crying, not only it comes down, when you actually do what is necessary for your soul, you actually start feeling happy. And in marriage, the crying might come down, but there is no guarantee that you will feel happy. Bharat ಇಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಕೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು then he'll have second thoughts. Should I get married or not? But he'll still call me for the marriage. I'm sure about it. Anyway, Saripa, 7:10. It was a nice session today. Good. Your condition also is pretty good. You are developing bit by bit every day. So we can see that, what do you say, the happiness and the liveliness coming in all of you. And now you people have started coming early also. I turn it on 5 minutes early and people are already here. So good to see that. That is what we need. We need that craving in the heart to assimilate this more and more into part of our life. When you start experiencing this, you tell me, where is boredom in spirituality? There is nothing called as boredom in spirituality. A child, till the mind is not developed, cannot get bored. Boredom is at the level of the mind. There is no question of any boredom at the level of the spiritual realm. Okay? So I'll stop here. Any questions you can take.
Brother, you had said we'll discuss about the dimensional shift of lightness.